Perfect. Awesome. We are live on Facebook. Welcome everybody to today's version of Beyond the Cloud. There is obviously not as much going on in the background. We're done from the conference and we have Deb and Jessica who can actually interact now a lot better. That was interesting to say the least. We had just tried it for the first time, like, well, let's try it. Let's see if this works. And it didn't work out so well, but that's good to know for the next time. That if we want to actually talk to people and have them on screen, then we can't have interactive, or I've got to go to a quiet space and attach through my computer. All right. So how has everybody's week been, Deb and Jessica?
Rough.
Oh, you're still muted, Jessica. I don't know if you meant to have us muted.
It's been busy.
No, it's been busy. Yes.
And I am still in that. I can't believe the year is almost over.
Yes.
I know, right? We were just, my husband's so that's why the dog's barking. We were just sitting there.
Oh, everything's coming.
Well, it's funny. I was just sitting there looking and getting ready because Leanne said to me, she says, you better book off your schedule so that people can't start booking, because of course on our Calendly link, they can book 2 weeks out. And I'm like, don't I already have Christmas off? Because of course we're doing our company Christmas cruise. So we're leaving for that we're leaving on the 15th. They're leaving on the 18th. So we're leaving a few days ahead of them. And they're leaving on the 18th, but we're essentially shut down for 2 weeks before Christmas. And we've got, of course, Christmas and Boxing Day week. And then we're closed the next week. I'll be here working, but we're going to be officially closed so that I can catch up on stuff. But then we've got the week before, we've got QuickBooks Connect Toronto. So we'll be gone for 3 days there. Every second Thursday, I'm at the clients doing some on-site stuff, which will happen to be the Thursday of the week of Connect. And then we like to book a day off after the conference or before we go away to catch things up. So I'm looking at this going, great. I have 0 bookings available up until or after December 1st.
Wow. Yeah, I'm tired just listening to it.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's, quite stressful.
Yeah.
From that, let alone to think of everything else that has to be done. But oh my gosh, so
just the normal stuff, yeah.
It does.
Trying to stay ahead of it.
And of course, for those who don't go to conferences, I actually, as much as there's a FOMO, people going, I actually envy you guys because, again, like 2 back-to-back like this, you come back, it takes a week to catch up, then you're in a normal cycle, then you've got to get ready to go. Like it's basically from November onwards is kibosh. And there's my husband just delivering water.
Yeah, next week I'll be attending Scaling New Heights online. So still nothing, it doesn't compare, but I did block out those days from my schedule so that I can pay attention to the actual keynote sections instead of trying to multitask doing work.
Good. Well, yeah, you're right. It's not that bad, but you're right. You're still, if you're blocking the time off.
Yep.
And so the good thing about attending that online, if you block it off and you actually attend your sessions, you'll learn more, because go ahead and ask me how many sessions I actually attended. Officially one. We did one pre-conference section with Rondalyn Corlick for 3 hours the night before, and then Ron Baker, one of his sessions. So official sessions was only really one, but I still learned enough and my brain was full. And so I got what I wanted out of it. And the rest of it was, of course, the keynotes and interacting and meeting Ashton and, those.
Oh, yeah, meeting Ashton. There you go. That was the whole purpose of the trip, wasn't it?
I didn't find out for sure. I was hoping I was going to be on the list. I reached out to Mindy King. I love you. I reached out to Mindy. And so last year, when I was Firm of the Future, I actually got to meet Amy Purdy. And Amy Purdy is, she was on Dancing with the Stars. She's an Olympic gold medalist, and she's had both of her legs amputated from her knees downwards when she was a teen. So everything that she has gone through and the strugglings to be able to go on and be an Olympic medalist for snowboarding, and do Dancing with the Stars. And she came in, I think, second or something. And to be able to do that is absolutely amazing. And she had an amazing, inspiring story. But Sandra in our office watched Dancing with the Stars with her daughter and actually started to cry when like her tears welled up when she's like, oh my God, when she heard Amy was coming. And then when she saw I got the email to meet Amy Purdy. So I emailed Mindy and I'm like, can I give this to somebody else? I can't. And Mindy was like, that's so nice of you. Absolutely have her come in your place. So I was really kind of hoping that that little bit of karma came back when I actually asked to go on Ashton's list, but we didn't know if he was meeting or not. And I found out at 9:30. I got a message and he was going on, we were going in for the keynote at 10. So it's lit, and I had to meet him at, at 12. So it was like literally just before boom, boom, boom. I guess so that you don't have a lot of chance to tell people. But yeah. So I was watching and I had given up by that morning. I'm like, no, I've given up. It's not going to happen. So
Wow.
Mindy, I love you. So yes,
Fun.
that was very cool. Oh my goodness. So this week has just been a crazy week coming back from everything, and like you said, gearing up. So you guys have deadlines a little sooner than we do too, don't you? So what's your deadline for 1099s?
January 31st.
Okay, so yeah, this is getting into stressful because we've got till February 28th for our T4s, and then even taxes. You guys have your deadline because you guys have, if I'm correct, you guys have in the States all of your corporate and all of your personal, all of your everybody is the 15th of April, correct?
Yes, there's some business returns that are actually due March 15, or there were last year. That's a fairly recent change in the last few years. So I haven't even looked that far into my calendar. I don't do taxes myself, but I do have to get the clients ready. And so I'm like, let me get through 1099s first, then I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
And that's crazy because I will never again, not that I really did in the first place, but I will never again mock you guys for how stressed you are at that time of the year, because I'll tell you, up here in Canada, we've got our personal returns, or our sole proprietors are due April 30th. So we've got 2 weeks longer. No, that's when they're due to be paid. Our sole proprietors actually have until June 15th to be filed, but they have to have had paid beforehand. So most of them we're really getting their stuff done ahead of time. But our corporations can be ended any month of the year you pick it, so that the accountants can strategically pick. So most corporations aren't during tax season. Yeah, because tax season is crazy for us. So when I found out how that worked with you guys, and I can't remember who it was that told me that, but it's only been in the recent few weeks. I'm like, what? That's crazy.
It's intense.
Yeah, and then 1098s are due to be mailed January 31st, but we do have the delay until, and this is leap year, so February 29th to get 1098s out, and that's what I do for one of my clients who's a mortgage lender. So I have all of that, and then sales tax. I'm heavy into sales tax, and all the sales tax deadlines are January 20th across the board. Yeah.
And the states don't care how busy you are. They are first in line.
That's right.
I am getting so stressed out for you guys already for this upcoming tax season. Wow.
Yes. The only state that is not in the calendar quarters and is a fiscal quarter is New York.
Oh, wow.
That's the only one, that is not going to be a rush come January 20th. All the rest of them are just lining up, and it's like, oh my gosh.
And of course, because you deal with multiple states, that's crazy.
I cover all states. So it's just nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
Wow. Oh, here's Lillian coming to join us. So I had somebody, and I was going to reach out to you, Deb, but I completely forgot about it, and now I've remembered again. And I can't remember which boot camper. So when you see, if you're watching this, please remember to reach out, or Deb will give your answer online. Is there any, so you deal with a lot of the cannabis for the different states, correct? Is there
mainly in Colorado. I deal with Colorado.
Okay. So is there a national merchant that you're aware of that will accept that? Because what's happened is this person has got a company, they're trying to get into that here in Canada. But every time they've tried to apply for merchant services, they're being told that no, because it's even though it's illegal, because they're in cannabis, they won't deal with it. So who is there one that you know of that's
not that I know of yet? You can look into Stripe. I know they're pretty liberal, but you'd have to approach them directly and say, this is what we're doing. Does this fit within your business model? But I know PayPal and Square and the rest of them do not.
So how is it, if you know what I mean, like how do they accept payments then?
Everything's cash.
It's all just straight cash.
All straight cash. Yeah. They actually have like ATM machines that they have inside the different grow facilities and the retail sections where people can go pull funds off of a debit card, but it's still driven by a cash debit card pull. Yeah, it's still cash, but they are trying to pass a cannabis credit union lobby for everyone statewide that they can all get together and use to handle this problem so they can do their payroll taxes and different things like that that's
Like,
involved.
that's crazy. I just
Oh,
don't
I know.
I mean,
This has been going, Colorado, you could buy, oh my gosh, I don't know how many years it's been now. The medical marijuana was always here. You could always get that. And now it's been passed that it's recreational, so anybody can buy it.
see,
And our poor surrounding states that people take it out of Colorado say, well, we can get it there. It's not illegal. And then they drive into Kansas or Nebraska. And it's like,
right.
oh my goodness. Yeah.
See, that, like, personally, I don't. I
Yeah.
don't. I can't stand the smell. I can't stand, like,
Oh.
it makes me nauseous.
Well,
But
the entire-
I don't drink a lot either. But if it's recreational, and it is no different, really, the way that
Yeah.
I view it, no different than sitting down and getting drunk. Like,
Mhm.
I do that a few times a year. I've been known to do
Well-
that. I don't do it often. Again, I'm a social drinker, but if I can go and I can pay on my credit card for alcohol,
Yep.
I don't understand what the difference
Well,
is.
you can drive in and get gas and get pot all at the same time in the Colorado Springs. You pull up and get
Okay.
gas, you walk in the side and you get your pot. All is good.
So-
Non-stop.
Wow.
See, here in Florida, it's
Yeah.
only medical and it's fairly recent. But what I notice is that they get merchant accounts with foreign banks.
Mhm.
So your transaction is actually a foreign transaction.
Right.
Like there's a CBD supplier not too far from me, and they have a bank account in, I think, England or somewhere in Europe, and that's where their merchant processor is.
Mhm.
Wow.
I know for sure we're definitely told not to take any marijuana across the border into the US.
Yes.
Yeah, that's on a
Big
federal
time.
level. You still don't want to mess
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, and the Canadian government is warning people, do not do that, because the US government has a completely different view of carrying marijuana throughout the states than what we would have in Canada. Again,
Right.
because
Yes.
our federal law is that it's now legal, we can carry it across any province, but
Well, because our prime minister partakes, though, right? So
There's your reason.
I'm sure that helps.
well, though what I have noticed, and I think what is a little bit different than regulating it in the States, is because it is a federal regulated, we've
Mhm.
got a whole lot more regulations. There isn't
Right.
any pulling into a gas station and buying pot and gas at the same time, right?
right.
No?
No.
Well, that's not true. You can on the reserves.
Well,
Oh.
I mean, you could always buy things on the reserves that you can't
Right.
buy anywhere else, but you have to go to a government license. So it's kind of like our liquor
Right.
stores, right?
Yeah.
The liquor stores are government regulated, and so are the pot stores.
Yeah. So you guys in the States, you guys can go, like, the very first time I walked into Walmart and saw like a wine store, I'm like, what? I can buy like wine and like vodka,
Yeah.
like what? Because we can't up here. We've got a beer store and a liquor store. Now, I've heard, and I haven't seen this yet because I got to say I haven't been doing much of the grocery shopping lately. But apparently here you can buy. Walmart has a wine. Walmart in our local metro has actually a wine aisle, so that you can start to buy some things in there. So it looks like some of it's being a little bit less regulated, but that's only in recent months.
Mm-hmm.
So otherwise, yeah, the government's got their fingers in everything here.
Oh, big time. Well, it's too much money for them, right?
Yep.
They tax it all.
Oh,
So
yeah, they tax it.
it's like
heavily
this
from,
brand new revenue line on the federal budget, right? Like it's huge. So
Yeah,
they've just brought a whole lot more coffers into the budget for federal level.
Yeah, what's sad here is when you drive into Denver, oh, the stench of pot.
People
It is
are
bad.
complaining about that here also. And
Yeah.
we've got pretty strict smoking laws anyways
Mhm.
around smoking. And you can't smoke within 10 feet of a doorway. You can't smoke on any public grounds, any parks, that kind of thing. So they're enforcing that same type of rule around pot smoking. But that doesn't mean that if your neighbor in your own neighborhood smokes a lot or starts to grow it, because now it's legal for anybody to grow it in Canada. I think it's 4 plants You can
Yeah,
have.
I think it's 4.
Yeah. So, your neighbor's growing it and you may be really offended by the smell, and you're going to be living with that smell coming in through your windows, right? But
Yeah, and it's strong.
Yeah,
it
no,
is.
It's very
potent.
strong. We
Yeah.
have my husband did at one point, and he does every now and then, but he loves to grow things. So he actually did at one point, and he didn't tell me because I'm a crappy liar. I'm sorry. Please come knocking at my door. I'll be like, just take me away. I did like whatever, I crack under pressure. So he didn't tell me about it. And of course, I'm not going to say when it was, if it was before legal or after legal, because I don't want somebody showing up at our doorstep now. I don't think they can anyway, but there's nothing there now. But I kept telling him, I'm like, it smells like almost like skunk. It does.
It smells
And
like
it was
skunk.
only at night. And I was downstairs working in the office in the basement, which was the opposite of the house in the basement. And I had windows open. It was only in the summer. And I'm like, every night it smells like skunk or like cat spray. My mail, like cat, and he used to spray. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And he's like, no, it's in my head. And he'd walk away and he'd always start laughing at me. And then it was finally like, he thought it was just in my head and then I was playing games with him. And then no, when we talked about it, he's like, you really didn't know? I'm like, no, I didn't know. Did you tell me? Do I go outside? No, not on the side of the house. That's his responsibility. I don't cut the grass. I don't do the weeding. That's his. I go to where the pool is. I go to where the fun's like where I'm going to sit and chill, and that's it. But yeah, it's gross. It's horrible.
So I really do think that there is a big argument to allow people to grow it because it's going to be expensive. It's going to be like buying a luxury like you do when you buy booze or you buy cigarettes. The taxes on it are crazy. Like to go and buy a package of cigarettes, I was shocked. $10 for a package of cigarettes in Canada, right? Like unbelievable. So for people that use it for pain, and there's a lot of people that do, I really like the idea that they could grow it themselves and be able to get it and not have to pay the prices that are there. So, there's good with the bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think that there's any, and I could be wrong because I'm not in that side of it, but I don't believe that there's actually any medical plans that actually cover medical marijuana.
There is actually. Because we just got a notice, as a matter of fact, from my husband's plan, and they will cover up to $2,500 a year.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
See, my concern with that then is, how do you know that people are really using it? How do you know that they're not going to their doctor and just saying, oh, I just want it covered. I just want it covered. Just give me this, give me that.
How do you know that people aren't going to their doctors to get pain that way? Right? Like, I don't see that as any different. If you can snow your doctor, right, to get it, the same as people snow their doctor to get Oxycontin and all the rest of it, right? Yeah, I mean, that's just going to happen, right? But for those that need it, my husband's plan now covers $2,500 a year.
Interesting.
That was shocking to me when we saw that notice. But
wow,
that is shocking.
It is, but I mean, it's good. Again, if it helps, it's good. Again, I can't stand the smell of it. We did actually go out and try. After it became legal, my husband finally said to me, because of course with my back and the car accidents and the fall and everything, but I won't take anything stronger than like an extra strength Advil or an extra strength Tylenol, because addiction runs high in our family. I don't want to get it. And I've seen, and you know what? Oxycontin especially is very, very dear to my heart. Like the fact of like not having it, because they actually in the States, they use beagles. I have a beagle. They use beagles and inject beagles with Oxycontin to see how addictive it is and how quickly the beagles die. So they do a lot of testing. So
it's true.
Horrible.
And it's incredibly addictive. And we have a whole pile of seniors out there that have been given it for pain, and they're all addicted. So absolutely, it's not a good thing. But the other thing is we have to realize that you can get CBD that is just CBD, which is
without any effect.
You don't have to have the THC part of it. Yeah.
Well, exactly. So my husband went up because again, we're just down from the reserve. So he drove on to the reserve and my daughter and I are there. And she's like, oh, it's stinky out of here. Because again, it smells everywhere because they've got every 2 feet, they've got a great big pot plant because they like, or the pot stores because they service, this whole area. Essentially, we've just got the one reserve. And so he went and bought me some gummies because I'm like, I'm not going to smoke it. Like, I can't smoke I used to smoke. I'm not putting anything in my lungs. I don't want the THC. So he apparently got me gummies with only the CBD oil, and they did nothing. Now, mind you, I didn't sit there and take a whole bunch. I tried one, didn't work the next day. He says, try it again. I'm like, didn't work. I took two. I'm like, no, it didn't work because those were like bad back nights on them. But then I'll go 6 months. Like if I could get them, if it worked, I probably would do that because
you can get drops. You can get drops, so it's not in a candy form. I don't know, when they start mixing it with food and stuff, you wonder how effective it is. Yes.
Oh, there's the drops. Okay.
You can get drops and you put them underneath your tongue. And I actually would encourage you, Tanya, to try it again because it really does help with pain. I'm not saying to take the THC side.
No. Well, that makes me nauseous anyway.
Yeah.
I did my experimenting when I was a kid, when I was not a kid.
Yeah. But the CBD really does help with pain.
Well, because when you look at the effects, like this, I take the Robax Platinum is what I take most of the time. This is essentially, it's a muscle relaxant with Advil. Well, you're only supposed to take one of these. On an average day, I'm taking 2 of these. When it gets really bad, I'm popping 6 at a time. Yeah. Then I go 6 months without taking anything where I'm like, I'll go from something with an Advil or an ibuprofen. Then I'll switch over to just Tylenol. And then I'll switch over to 6 months of nothing to try to at least give my body a chance to recover. But like this stuff is horrible on the liver.
Yeah.
On the liver.
Oh man, that is not good.
No. So now that I know they've got the drops, I'll definitely try that without the THC. You're okay. Bye, Jessica. But yeah, and that's great to know because and especially if it's covered, even better.
So Jessica, obviously you find that it helps with some.
I'm sorry, my connection keeps breaking. Could you say that again?
I was just wondering, so you have some drops?
Yes, I use CBD. The brand makes a really big, reputable than others. I use Green Roads. It has no THC. I mean, legally it can have 0.3%, but they have independent lab reports. There's a QR code that you can look at the lab reports for your batch, and every time I look at it, it has 0. So I use it for anxiety, but sometimes when I have issues with pain, it helps as well. I was in a very minor car accident earlier this year. Killers at all. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good because like I said there and say, again, as much as, I don't, and I thought, the side effects, this and that, again, like what does this do? This kills your liver. And I know that. So
it does.
Okay, I will try that with the drops. I will.
Yeah, you just put them, it comes in a needle. And you just put, a couple of drops under your tongue at nighttime. That really helps you sleep at nighttime. And there you go. And up here, you can get it in an actual needle. So you're just doing a drop through the needle. And the needle is big enough for 1 month supply. 30 days, right? So, yeah.
Okay. This company does sell the little, they're like syringes.
Yeah,
and they do sell it as that option. They have it, even coffee. They have it all sorts of methods. But I found for my purposes, the drops were better. Mm-hmm. And it has done wonders for me. And I need a lot less than I used to when I first started.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. Because I mean, it's not, I try to do, I've got my TENS machines that I work with. So I try to keep it natural as much as I can. It's usually when I'm traveling or, if I turn the wrong way that I really start having to pull these out. But if there's another option that works, great.
And and I'm not saying that it's going to replace that because sometimes you just tweak your back. You don't know how you did it. You just moved the wrong way.
You know what? I think sometimes we'll do it, right?
But I think what will happen is that you'll be on those kinds of things, Tanya, a lot less.
Right.
Over time. Yeah.
Right. And that's definitely.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's the goal. It is the goal because I don't like having to do anything for pain management. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's, I'm an A-type personality. I'm still I used to run 10 miles a day. So inside I'm still that person. and my outside doesn't match my inside, and it gets really frustrating sometimes. But yes,
I'm the same way with my knees, right? You know, you've seen me
yep.
with my knees, and I'm like, right now, I'd really like to go to QB Connect in December, but I'm just like, oh, like I don't think I can walk the conference and deal with all of that. So, yeah.
Well, do you know what I've started doing? And I've now done this for 2 conferences. I'm doing it for Connect as well. It was really, really hard. Is that my scooter?
Yes, yeah, I saw that.
It was really hard for me the first time because when going down to Scaling New Heights, I twisted the wrong way at the airport going there. I had, again, I'm just like, oh, yeah, I feel great today because I knew I was going to the airport, knew I was traveling. So I took my extra drugs, right? You know, took a few extra, the Robax and the Tylenol all at the same time. And I had in one hand, I had picked up 3 or 4 of those bins that we were supposed to put our laptops, all that stuff in, that had my laptops in it because somebody wanted something underneath. So I went and grabbed that with one hand, grabbed the other, and that was it. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I couldn't even take 2 steps forward. So I got there. Luckily enough, got a chiropractor who saw me 4 times while I was there, which was great. But I knew there was just no way I could do the walking. So we had to rent me a scooter, and it was a killer to the ego, but I was able to get around, and I got home not much different than before I even went to the hospital. I'm like, wow, that was pretty good. So we rented one down in San Jose. Again, you know, a little bit of a killer to the ego and an IPVC, but you know, not as much every time. It's a little easier. And I just have to think about when I get home, I'm not spending the next 2 weeks popping my drugs like crazy at the chiropractors every day because I can't even stand straight or whatnot. So So, you know, I mean, you know, if there's some place that you do want to go, I would highly recommend. They do have scooters that they can actually deliver right to the hotel for the conference. They've got mobility places like that.
I should look at that, but the ego is like.
And I get it. But you know what? When you look at the FOMO versus ego.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? You and I.
The other thing, it just makes me feel old. I mean, you're still quite young, but for me, it's like, oh, maybe not that far away in my future.
You know what?
It's not about age. I mean, our bodies are also different.
Exactly.
And I will say, before I started using this, I used to need a cane for a lot of long walking, and I haven't used my cane in over a year.
Wow. So it's got some really good long-term effects too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I mean,
it really is. It's not short-term. No.
Yeah, because it helps with inflammation, not just the pain.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, because honestly, when you look at most of the injuries, what's causing the pain, a lot of it's the inflammation. So without the inflammation, you're right, you don't have as much pain. There's obviously you could still hurt yourself on something without, pain without inflammation, but I think the two come hand in hand.
So how many of us use Receipt Bank?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, let's get on something. Receipt Bank. I do.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't get along with them.
It's probably.
I want to love them. So many people love them. I tried, but their customer service rubbed me the wrong way, and that's too big for me to, look the other way.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter then. I was just going to let everybody know. I had an issue this last week that I was I could not get the answer from anybody on, and I actually did finally get support to communicate with me through email, and I got it resolved. So I just thought I'd throw it out there in case anybody else has that problem. So we're on Facebook, right?
Yep.
So just in case anybody has that problem. So I have one client that is a strata property, and they self manage, and I do all of their bookkeeping. So of course, the council is continuously changing. Every year they do a new, election, and it's brand new council members. And of course, I always have the council members set up to be able to upload to Receipt Bank. So meeting came along, the AGM came along, and we've got new council members. So I need to go into Receipt Bank and suspend, is what they call it, anybody that's in there, and then add the new people. It worked just fine until I got to one person, and it would not give me the option to suspend them. And I kept looking at it and comparing it to the other people that I had signed up, and I couldn't see any difference other than this one person had been assigned, not by me, so I'm sure that's a background thing that Receipt Bank does, had been assigned the account owner. And they assign account owner to somebody that's a user for every single file. And when somebody is the account owner, you cannot suspend them.
Huh.
It's like a master admin in QuickBooks. Same thing.
Similar, I think. You're right. Yes, exactly. So then I said, okay, well, how do I do this? Nobody knew the answer. And finally, back and forth, I finally got a hold of them at tech support. And that's what they told me. You can't suspend an account owner. So I said, well, that doesn't work in this case. I guess I can see the logic behind that if this was really a business and there was a consistent business owner. But in this particular case, and I'm sure for a lot of other with people with boards and all the rest of it that change, that's not going to work. Like, anyways, they have to do it. They can do it, but they've got to do it behind the scenes. So if that happens to anybody, you've got to get a hold of Receipt Bank and for them to actually suspend the account owner and assign it to somebody else behind the scenes. We can't do it. Just in case it ever happens.
Crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of added work.
Yep. Oh yeah, I was back and forth to, trying to get the answer on the Facebook page, and then back and forth emails back and forth to support. It was like a 2-hour investment into trying and trying to get the answer that I certainly can't charge my client for. Right?
No, and that's the thing that's annoying. Like yesterday, I was working on a client. I have 2 clients, well, multiple, but I was working on 2 clients at the same time, trying to pull PayPal reports. This is a simple thing. This is normal procedure just to pull PayPal financial reports to get the details to import into QuickBooks. Very simple. PayPal Connect, all of that works. I don't care for it. I do it my own way. So I'm working away on one client, go into PayPal, pull the reports. The report comes up, go in to get the details. Sorry, we're having a problem. So I go to PayPal's status report blog, and it says, you go all the way down the list, everything's working fine. You finally find chat, you contact them and say, what's going on with the details on the reports? We don't know. It's like, well, who does? I need this to work now. I'm working on my clients. I need to get these done. I have deadlines I got to meet. And they have no clue. Call us. Who can you call at PayPal? There is no calling PayPal. So they did supply me a phone number and a number. So I call them and they say, we have no clue, but we will email you the report. I said, the report you're going to email me is just going to be a lump sum summary. I need the detail log items. Well, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And that's how it was left. So yes, I did go in today and get what I needed, but I lost a day.
Yeah.
And I can't charge my clients for that.
No.
I'm just out.
Well,
I just wish that they would get that. I just wish that all of these apps and software companies, they're the same, that they would get the fact that, we're out there using their product and promoting them by using their product. So we have to have top priority. I don't even like the fact that we've got different levels. What does that really matter? Right? In the scheme of things, when you've got a client that, needs the answer to something or a fix, it's just like they just don't put enough investment into their support teams. And I don't think any of them are innocent of this, some worse than others, but they're all guilty of not putting enough money and effort into support that they give us as bookkeepers and accountants.
Yep.
Well, and then the prices of the levels. I'm going to throw Shopify out there. If you go and get a Shopify account to do your e-commerce chats, whatever, $39 a month, whatever the basic price is. Then if you want to do it correctly, you have to bring on apps to do the calculations for sales tax in the shopping cart. And the best one that works, I'm not going to plug it, but the best one that works that I think is Avatax. But the cost, the Shopify level cost on that is $2,000 a month. And then they include it. Anything below that, you can't connect it.
Oh my goodness.
It's like
$2,000.
Yes, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
For some small client, like one that I might have, my smallest has like 10 orders a month. There is no way, and no, those orders aren't 100,000 a piece. They're $10 a piece. There's no way they can afford $2,000 a month to get the plus level, so they can have Avatax correctly calculate their sales tax. It's just, what are you thinking? Really?
Yeah.
All I can say is thank God for all of the various Facebook forums that we have, because without helping each other, and
you're right.
you know, really, we wouldn't have got through this stuff, like all of these changes and all of the various apps that we're connecting and stuff. Without each other, there's no way we would have survived all of this, because they haven't been there to actually support us as well as they should be through this. So that's why it's so important that,
they're very nice. Yeah, they're very, very nice, but it's like you're not helping with the problem. You're actually creating it and making it worse.
Yeah. So kudos for like your Facebook page, Tanya, and quite a few others out there that actually is a place for us to go and get the answer in a timely manner that we can actually continue to, you know, work and get the stuff.
Or like with you, Diane, to say this is what happened with me with Receipt Bank. So everybody be prepared that if you go through this, this is what you're going to need to do, and plan for 2 to 3 hours to go through this, jump in these hoops you got to do just to get something fixed.
Or now don't even worry about trying to figure it out. Just know that you've got to go directly to them so they can do it behind the scenes. So hopefully that does help somebody if it comes up for them.
Well, you're right, and you're right, Dan. That's what I love about these groups, that it shares, and that's kind of where, you know, the Bookkeeper's Corner, like, you know, there's so many of the ones in Canada that were QB. You know, all I use is QBO. Everybody knows that, but there was a lot of questions that people felt that they couldn't answer because, you know, maybe it was Sage or maybe it's just general bookkeeping.
Yeah,
and that's why I say, you know what? No, we need a place that's just very clear to answer. It doesn't have to be product related. Those are our tools. That's what we use.
Exactly the reason why, because we kind of hemmed and hawed with Trifold Bookkeeper Advisors whether or not we would bother to do a Facebook page. But I said there's so much value in them, and it's not about taking anything away from any of the other Facebook pages. Nope. It's just about providing someplace else for just the bookkeeping questions. And you know what? They can go to, you know, any of the other sites to get their QuickBooks questions answered, to get their Receipt Bank, like they're all out there for them.
Yeah.
But where can we go and just talk about the bookkeeping issues, right?
Yeah, exactly. So no, I think that's a great idea. So when you guys have the page, let me know and I'll make sure to join it.
Yeah, you did.
You
already did. You joined it.
I did. All right. Well, then I'll share that out.
I just actually made it public. Not even quite. I think it's a year. No, yeah, it's a week ago today, and we're over 100 followers.
Oh, very good. That's awesome.
Yeah, so super happy. In fact, I haven't even actually got it all together yet. It's there. It's up, and I've been trying to put a few interesting things on there, but there's not a lot happening on it quite yet. And I'm like, wow, we got 100 followers.
Well, and you know what's funny is I was actually having a conversation earlier on this week with Alan Salmon. And so we were talking a little bit like about boot camp. He was asking about boot camp and, you know, about like, and I said, yep, we see it going really good with the trifold. And he says, you know what? He says, and I said, I'm sure you've heard all about that from Diane. He says, we actually haven't really had a chance to speak that much on it. So I filled him in a little bit on it. I hope I did it justice, but of course, knowing he'll be in touch shortly anyway. But
it's true. I've sent him a couple of emails and said, Alan, I'm like, really, I'm going to get back to you. I just really need to focus on this right now, because we want to make sure people know that we are working on this and it's coming, it's out there. Right.
Yeah.
So, but sure. Yes, absolutely. I need to have a chat with Alan.
I kind of chuckled at that. I thought, oh, here, I'm telling him about your BKA. Right?
I know. It's a bit crazy. But I have, like, he's sent me messages saying, what is all this? And all of that, and where can I help? And as Alan would. And I'm like, just hold on, I'll get back to you. Because there's definitely going to be a place where he can help with this. But we don't have it focused out yet as to
right. Well, it's not easy to build. Like boot camp was a year in the making.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, well, testing, of course, testing too, make understanding, getting the format, like all of that. Like it's it's not
Yeah.
easy to pull something like that together.
Yeah, it's not. And we're going to need that website to be very functional because that's where people will upload and download a lot of documents, their, course materials, upload their homework, all of that kind of stuff. So it's not an easy website to make sure it's all functioning and working well, which is why I went live with the Facebook page, just to, kind of make, we're still here, we're coming kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Takes
And
time.
was super excited to see so many people.
And now that you say that, I think I remember you inviting me in. It's just
Yeah.
this past month has been a blur. That's all I have to say. It's been a blur, and it's going to continue to be a blur until January. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's awesome.
So yeah, please feel free to join us if you're not, and let's get the conversation happening, as they say.
Absolutely, awesome. I'm just looking to see if there's any. Elizabeth has been going back and forth. I've been conversing on here. She says, yeah, I guess she was asking who's Ashton. So I said, yeah, Ashton Kutcher, one of the speakers. And of course, she's questioned, what does Ashton know about bookkeeping? And that's a great question. It's a very valid, great question.
Very valid.
Yeah, that not a lot of people know. So I typed it back to her. But he has been like acting is really his side gig. And it's funny, I actually spoke to him. I'm not sure if I insulted him or not. I hope not. So I've been like, do I want to even bother text him or try to message him? Because his text number is actually out on his Twitter page.
Mm-hmm.
That's his actual text number, his cell number. He doesn't necessarily get a chance to respond to everybody all the time because he gets a ton. What he's doing is right now he personally responds to about 20%. He's actually building a bot so that he can, because a lot of them are the exact same questions. So this bot is going to be able to pull out, this, 300 are all of this question. And so he can type one answer and send one answer out to everybody. So he says he wants to be able to interact with about 80% of the people. But what people don't know about him, and I was actually really surprised to find out as well, until I saw him on Shark Tank, because I love Shark Tank and Dragon's Den. I watch those about, for the entrepreneurs and businesses. And I really love that. And all of a sudden he showed up on there, and I knew he was involved in tech, but he is a huge investor in entrepreneurs, and he actually has a venture capital company that he'll invest. He likes the tech. So if you've got a tech company, you're more likely to attract him to invest in that versus like a product. So some of the, sharks do different things. But I was quite surprised when I found that out. But I do know socially, he's got, and I didn't really realize the full details on it, but he's got a foundation called Thorn. And Thorn, he actually talked about it there, which was really interesting. And I guess it started, so it's to try to combat human trafficking. And he said that he was walking somewhere with a friend, and his friend just said, within 2 blocks of anywhere where you stand in the city, I think it was in LA, he says you can buy a human. And he was like, what? He was completely floored. So he started this foundation, and to date, they've been able to identify and rescue over 10,000 children from human trafficking.
Wow.
So he talked a little bit about that. And then of course he talked about the investing in the tech. So when I met him, I actually went to tell him, because you know what, acting, I enjoy actors, but let's face it, they're just like us. They're people. They put their pants on one leg at a time. Just because they're celebrities doesn't mean they're any different. So I don't admire celebrities for being able to act. It's hard. I could never do it, but I don't admire them or respect them for being able to do that. So when I met him, we did the picture, and then I said to him, and I said, I just have to say that I have a huge respect for what you do outside of acting, like that, that your involvement with the entrepreneurs and, what you do socially to try to give back to the world. I have huge admiration and respect for that, even more so than your acting. And then he turns around and he went, oh, and he starts to do this over. And I'm like, I'm not saying you're a bad actor. I enjoy your acting. And then of course they ushered me out. So here I am mortified going, great. Ashton, like next month, he's going to be on like Ellen or something. And they're going to say, what was your most recent strange fan experience? To be like, yeah, this fan that just called me a bad actor. Excuse me. So Yeah, so that's what he does, and that's why he spoke. So, and he was there on Small Business Day, so he was, definitely relevant, because he deals with a lot of the entrepreneurs in that. So, it was really interesting to have that. So, not just because he's a celebrity with that. So, yeah, so that was pretty cool. They actually also had Rent the Runway. And I swear I've seen that on Shark Tank before. And it's funny, the theme seemed to be, and it'll be interesting to see if this follows through in Connect Toronto, but the same seem to be subscriptions, because Rent the Runway is all in subscriptions. You have a subscription to Rent the Runway, and now you can get these fancy clothes. So you can wear these, these great big fancy, whatever maternity, you're going out for parties, Christmas, whatever, and you just pay a subscription every month and you get, so many clothes, you wear them and you return them. So that way you don't have to go out and, either buy your clothes and hide the tag to return it after you're done wearing it or whatever. And your wardrobe is always revolving. And then when I ran into Ron Baker, of course, I try to go to Ron's because I always get something, even though I was a black swan, I always get something from seeing him speak. Just like same thing, Diane, even though you've been around Alan for a number of years, every time you see him speak or hear him speak, you still gain something from it. So yeah. I'm usually at Ron's, and Ron always says to me, he's like, I said, I'm coming. He's like, you don't need to be there. You already know the stuff. I'm like, I still get something from it anyway. This time he said, you're coming? And I said, yes. He says, great, because you need to, because I'm going to take everything that I've taught you before and blow it out of the water. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. So he spoke on subscriptions. And where that's kind of where the world is going, because you have if you've got subscriptions, people tend to have a higher return rate, or, a higher retention rate. He says it's an average of 80%. He says Porsche, for example, has subscription packages where you can, I think it was Porsche, where you can just get a different car every month. You don't own the car. You don't lease the car. You just change the car in as you feel, because that's covered. It's part of your lease. And so that's where, he's saying he sees the future of bookkeeping. Now, it won't work with everybody. And I was like, wow, how can we get that to work? But then I realized we already do that. We have our support plans, the DIY, where we do the consulting plans. They get, an hour a month for $180 a month. Or I think it's $175 before software. I don't know what we're pricing that, but roughly to that. And that gets them, we do a review and meet with them up to an hour a month. So I'm trying to wrap my head around, see, is there any other way we can kind of do these other, standard subscriptions? And I haven't really wrapped my head around that yet. So
it's about looking at your services and actually making them a product. So productizing, if that's a word, your services, right? And finding out. It is now,
it's a word today. It is, yeah.
And finding out how you can do that. So you have to take a look at every single thing that you offer. And I think the challenge for us is we're going to have a lot of things that we just automatically offer that we're going to need to actually take them out of our packages and also have almost like an a la carte for things, right? As we go forward. Because, with things like QB Live, and the fact that people just think, as Jessica was talking this morning on one of the threads that I read, that they can do the bookkeeping because Danny tells them they can. What's going to happen in all of that is people will start to take over more and more parts of it. That is automatic. So we're not going to be needed as a package so much, but more the reviewer and the higher level stuff. So to take those things that we automatic, a perfect example is right now here in Canada, I don't know what you guys do, but we get a notice every time about this year to what the new rate is going to be for WorkSafe. What would that be called?
Like a workers' comp.
Worker compensation that employers have to pay. And that tells us what the rate is for next year. And people have to actually go and change it in the software, and they have to review it and see that, of course, that the government has assigned them the right category as such.
Because they've changed the categories.
Because they've changed the categories. That's I was thinking about it. That's a perfect service that you could actually put out there as a product that you could
Absolutely.
then offer as an a la carte thing.
Yep.
So that's what we have to do. We have to really start to look at those kinds of things that you would probably have done for every single one of your clients.
Yes.
Automatically, they wouldn't have paid for it. It would just been a part of it. Okay, here's the new WCB rate. We got to make sure that's changed, and let's look it up and make sure that their classification is still right. And we wouldn't have even thought about charging for it. It would be part of the package automatically.
You're right.
But that's probably something that you don't need to put in your packages, and that you could sell every single year as an added value.
That's a very good point. And I have noticed the evolution of the packages. I include the same things they did when I started on my own almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a lot of business owners that have taken over a lot of things. And with the bank feeds and automation, data entry is no longer included by default.
That's right.
A lot of my clients pay their own bills,
Right.
things like that. So now you want accounts payable or accounts receivable, that's an add-on. It's no longer included by default.
That's right.
Because when I noticed that when it was included, not everybody wanted it.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Jessica. We have to go back and have those packages evolve as this is evolving. And I think that we were all struggling to even get to packages. That once we actually got there, we just went, okay, done that. That's good, right? But it's something that we have to continue to evolve with all the time and take serious look at. And I think that will help us with that whole thing about, making our services products that we can sell a la carte.
And that's the only way to keep ourselves relevant, is to keep moving forward. I mean, and I've heard this many a time, and one of the speakers said it too. I can't remember who said it. Might have been Compton that said it. At Connect, or maybe it was, no, actually it wasn't him, it was another guy. Anyway, I can't remember the guy's name, but he came on and he said that technology has never been moving as slow or as fast as it is today, but yet as slow as it ever will be again, or something along those lines.
That's so true.
And we have to keep, to make ourselves relevant. Like you have, talked quite a bit, Diane, on the, bookkeeping is dead. It's not dead as long as we're continuously reinventing.
That's right. Yeah. And that's a hard thing for a lot of bookkeepers to actually get their mind around.
Yeah, that's a lot of maintenance to do.
It is. It really is. So how can we do that? That's my goal, is how do we do that, spread that word that this is doable. It's not doom and gloom. We just need the path.
I think it's funny. I think if you look at traditionally, a lot of bookkeepers or accountants have joined. The ones that don't know about the technology yet, they join because they think it'll never change. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. And so I find a lot of people I work with in boot camp find change very difficult because of that. That, that's kind of why they chose this profession, thinking it'll never change. Again, 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2. Well, not necessarily.
Not anymore. It doesn't.
0.5 plus 0.25 plus 2.5, whatever. So yeah.
It's so true. And so great that, pardon me?
And don't forget, throw Bitcoin in. Now we got to be accountable for Bitcoin.
That's right. And again, why there is so much need out there for groups like Tanya's to actually show the way and, be able to say, you know what, you can do this. It's not that hard. We have a plan. We've got a structure, which as bookkeepers, we love, right?
Yeah.
We've got a structure, and if you follow it, which we're really good at doing because we're detailed people, if you follow it, we can actually, change your business model to what is relevant today.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? That's where we all have to go.
Yeah, well, and the ridiculous thing is that, and I mean, I'm working with people that have been bookkeeping 25 years. I'm not just working with new bookkeepers. And every single time this happens, and this is going to continue to happen until we, accept that it's going to continue to happen and then adjust, confidence gets affected.
Yeah.
They start to, well, I don't think I know what I'm doing anymore. And there's this, you know what? You do. Like yesterday, we talked about trusted advisor. Trusted advisor is a topic that we talk about at camp, and it is not a heavy week homework wise. It comes right after, a heavy week and right before a heavy week. And it's a little bit of a breather to give them a chance to catch up, but it is so important. And we talk about that. And then someone, I had one person say who's been bookkeeping for 25 years. She's not a trusted advisor because she doesn't know everything. I said, you will never, ever know everything. Do you have a resource? Do you have a connection? Can you look that up? Can you tell the client, you know what? That's a great question. I haven't been asked that in a while. Let me look that answer up for you and I'll get back to you. And
okay, but you know what I just have to say about that, and you're right. But because so many of us bookkeepers are self-taught, that hurts our confidence. Because we've never had someone say, this is the way it is done, because we've done it pretty much on the seat of our pants.
I'm self-taught too. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many of us, 25, 30 years doing this, we've done it and it's worked for us because we really didn't have to go outside of that box.
Right.
But now we do have to go outside of that box, and we don't necessarily have the confidence or the skills, frankly, to be able to do that. And that's where I see this piece is missing in this transition. You've got to actually almost step back and back up a little bit and go and make sure you've got the skills that it's going to take for you to have the confidence to move forward.
No,
and that's the whole, right?
No, and you're absolutely right with that. But now look at the world we're in today. Again, people sit there and they say there's like, we're doing the financial advisory series. That's only 12 apps, only 12. But they're like, what is best for what? So part of that is, okay, let's determine what you actually need and focus on that. Go get the skills on that. You don't need to know every software. You just need to know, maybe a little bit about the pros and cons and then make your decision. That's again with us. I choose to only use QBO. The same reason I chose only to use QuickBooks. It doesn't mean Sage is bad. It doesn't mean Xero is bad. Sage doesn't work the way my brain works. And so I said, you know what? I would rather be an expert or specialize in one than have to try to work back and forth, because anybody who works in both, equally, unless you've been doing it for decades, you jump like I'm in QuickBooks Desktop every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks for one client that I go on site to. Otherwise, I'm only in QBO. And if there's something that is not part of the regular, I have to stand back and go, how do you do that again? I've got to get myself into a different mindset. So, that's why we chose to do that. But it's the same thing with the apps. As long as you kind of know what does what, you don't need to know each and every single one of the apps.
Except for you do need to know the basis of that.
Yes,
and
you're right.
I think that if a lot of us were honest, that have been self-taught, we're not absolutely confident that we understand things like cash flow completely.
You know what? And that's okay. I don't completely understand it because my brain thinks differently. My brain thinks if I don't have the money they make to pay for it, I don't buy it. I don't really do a lot of credit. I don't and again, credit, can I guarantee to pay for it? So Leanne actually teaches cash flow and forecasting because she can wrap that's how she was brought up. That's how she thinks. And she does that beautifully. To me, forecasting, I think it's a joke. I think forecasting is no different than taking a magic 8-ball. I understand the reason for it. I understand, you get that analogy, right? But no, I understand the reason for it.
I have a client that sells that product. So yes, I understand.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's hilarious. That's the new cash flow forecasting tool. There we go. Can I afford it? Yes or no? But so and to me, I don't understand business plans. Like I do, I understand the purpose of them, but it's plans on everything staying the same. And the only thing you can count on is that nothing is going to go as planned. So therefore, again, my brain doesn't think that way. So I don't teach that part of it. Leanne teaches that part. So again, I don't do it, but I have my resource.
Well, and that's the thing. What about resources? I see
Yep.
so many people running to Facebook and saying, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm reading or interpreting it. And you get 50 people
Different
Running.
answers
Oh.
too. Yeah.
running to say, this is how it's done. I've been doing this for 30 years and da 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 da. And I read it going, okay, I'm a little bit more. I've been doing it for 43 years. And I would never tell anybody to do it the way you have done it.
Yeah.
You know
Why?
what? That actually happened to me, Deb. About
Yes.
two. Did you see that post?
I'm wondering, let me tell you.
About 2 weeks ago, there was a question, and it was a really good basic bookkeeping question in that sense. And people were giving her this answers that were wrong. They were just outright wrong.
Yes.
And anyways, and I typed in the right answer to it as I understood her question, which is another whole issue. But anyways,
That's it.
as I understood her question, and someone came back and said, no, that's not correct. I've been doing bookkeeping for 50 years. And all I could do was laugh. And I did a reply like, oh, you got me beat. I've only been doing it 30. Like,
well, what else can you say?
Wow.
Exactly.
That's the thing I see on Facebook. And it does not matter what bookkeeping group or accounting group
You're right.
or
It's in
tax
all of
group
them.
I'm in. I see the same thing. And it's like,
Yes.
why are you coming to Facebook to ask that question? Contact the IRS.
Yes.
Contact
Yeah.
the licensing authority that is in control, like sales tax. Do you know how many times a day I call Colorado Department of Revenue to go over a specific tax item in detail? I know the IRS agents by their numbers and their first names now.
And CRA here is the same. They're great. So whenever I try to, whenever there's a question I go in and answer, I always try to put a resource link.
Yeah.
And if it's something that, again, that I, see other people commenting on that is wrong, and I know because I've been through audits, and there's some, like I was just talking to somebody today, she had some questions, and I said, yep, let's reach out directly on this. I've been doing taxes since 1997. I got like with my eyes closed. I've been through many audits with clients, on that, legal fees, you can only write off legal fees. So an accountant tried to let them write off their legal fees, first off for a divorce. I'm like, no, it has to be for the collection of income, child support or employment income. Has to be for the collection of income in Canada. And then there was another thing with that same person that, again, there's issues and they're being questioned on their single parent of the eligibility of the child. And again, I've been through these audits and these reviews with clients. I could do this, my eyes closed. So if I've been through that, then I'm like, you know what? I have been through X number of audits over the past 22 years. This has been the outcome every single time. Because a lot of people, I find that you're right, if they put the answer, they've not maybe been through an audit. They've not made the call. When I was self-learning, CRA calls were my best friend. I would call them and I would say, listen, I'm a little confused on this interpretation here. Can I speak to somebody? They are happy to speak to you.
Yeah.
Happy to do that. So
I contacted every Department of Revenue in every state and spoken to people specifically, even questioning some stuff on Avatax, saying, wait a minute, I just do not agree with this interpretation. And even in the Colorado Department of Revenue, they give you a link that you can go and check to make sure on a sales tax issue that the location that you're taxing, what those rates are and everything. I even found errors there. And I contacted the Colorado Department of Revenue and said, this is wrong. You need to correct it. And they did. But errors are made. But, you really need just going to Facebook and saying, da-da-da-da-da. And hundreds of people swarm in and they're all beginner experts. They absolutely know it. I've been doing this a long time, but I'm stupid. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I've heard that so many times. And I have finally just said, I am done with Facebook.
Do you think my dog wants to go for a walk?
You know why? Because he knows we've gone over time.
Yeah.
7 minutes over. Your dog knows.
But yeah, I have went in and removed myself from all the groups. I had it yesterday. I went in and said, this is it. I only belong to your group, Tanya. That is it. I did. I stayed with yours and
Thank you, Deb.
I said, I'm done with the rest. I unfollowed. I left. I said, I've had enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what can be, blessing on one hand can also be a curse on the other.
Yeah, that's right. Pros and cons with everything. Right?
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have gone over. So
Okay.
it was, great engaging conversation. Sherry Lee Mathers just commented that her and Lisa Channel just went through this. So I'm assuming that was probably this week. They just went through something similar with one of the groups too. So yeah. But anyway,
Finally
thank
put up.
you very much, everybody, for joining us today.
Have a great
Thanks, everybody on
weekend.
Facebook. Yes, have a
Everybody
very
kiss their
wonderful weekend.
kitties and their
Have a great
doggies.
weekend.
Absolutely. Okay. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next
See
week.
you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.